There is a black Mercedes-Benz sitting in a private garage in Germany right now that can outrun a Lamborghini in a straight line. It has more horsepower than a Formula One car from the 1990s. It costs more than most people's houses. And here's the strange part, Mercedes-Benz didn't build it. A company you've probably heard of, but maybe never fully understood, did. They take a car that already rolled off the Mercedes assembly line, already finished, already for sale, and they tear it apart. Engine, suspension, interior, everything. Then they rebuild it into something almost unrecognizable. Something faster. Something louder. Something that costs 2, sometimes 3 times the original price. And people wait in line to buy it. This is the story of BRABUS. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at a Mercedes-Benz badge the same way again. A small workshop with a big idea. To understand BRABUS, you have to go back to 1977, to a small town in Germany called Bottrop. 2 men, Bodo Buschmann and Klaus Brackmann, opened a modest workshop. At the time, nobody could have guessed that this tiny shop would one day be tuning cars for royalty, billionaires, and rap stars around the world. The name BRABUS itself is simple, it's built from the founders' surnames, Brackmann and Buschmann. Nothing flashy. Nothing that screams, future car empire. Just 2 names stitched together above a garage door. But here's where it gets interesting. In the late 1970s, most tuning companies were working with cheap, mass-market cars. Small hatchbacks. Family sedans. BRABUS looked at that entire industry and decided to do something almost nobody else was doing. They chose Mercedes-Benz. Why would anyone pick the most conservative, buttoned-up, formal car brand in the world, a brand associated with bankers, diplomats, and grandfathers, and try to turn it into a performance machine? That decision alone should have failed. Mercedes-Benz was not a tuner brand. It was the opposite. But BRABUS saw something the rest of the industry missed. The gap nobody else saw. Mercedes-Benz, for decades, built cars with incredible engineering underneath, powerful engines, precise handling, overbuilt chassis, but they intentionally held back. Mercedes wanted to sell comfort, status, and reliability. Not raw aggression. That wasn't their brand. Which meant there was a gap. A space between what a Mercedes-Benz could do, and what Mercedes-Benz was willing to let it do. BRABUS stepped directly into that gap. They started small, modest engine tweaks, subtle styling changes, a slightly firmer suspension. Nothing extreme at first. But word started to spread. People who owned Mercedes-Benz vehicles and wanted more performance, more presence, more exclusivity, started showing up in Bottrop. And then something happened that changed everything. The moment BRABUS stopped being just a tuner. By the 1980s and into the 1990s, BRABUS wasn't satisfied with small adjustments anymore. They began doing something almost unheard of at the time, completely re-engineering Mercedes-Benz engines. Not just adding a turbo or remapping software. They were opening up engines and rebuilding them from the inside, increasing displacement, redesigning internals, pushing horsepower numbers that Mercedes-Benz own engineers hadn't dared to release publicly. Then, in 1999, BRABUS built something that stunned the automotive world. A modified Mercedes sedan capable of speeds that rivaled dedicated supercars, a full-size, 4-door luxury car that could embarrass sports cars on the highway. For the first time, people outside Germany started paying serious attention. But this is where the story gets even more surprising. Because what BRABUS did next wasn't just about speed. It's not a copy. It's a rebuild. Here's something most people don't realize about BRABUS, it is not simply a Mercedes with stickers. It's not even really tuning in the traditional sense anymore. BRABUS is officially recognized in Germany as an automobile manufacturer in its own right. Let that sink in for a second. When BRABUS finishes working on a car, it isn't classified the same way a car with an aftermarket exhaust or a body kit would be. It receives its own vehicle registration. Its own type approval. In the eyes of German law, a heavily modified BRABUS vehicle can be considered a different vehicle entirely from the Mercedes it started as. That's an enormous distinction. It means BRABUS isn't just decorating Mercedes-Benz products. They're engineering new machines, using Mercedes-Benz as the starting foundation. Think of it like this, Mercedes-Benz builds the skeleton and much of the muscle. BRABUS takes that body, reshapes the bones, adds new muscle, rewires the nervous system, and gives it a completely different personality. But how do they actually do it? What's really happening inside that Bottrop facility? This is where things get technical, and honestly, kind of jaw-dropping. Inside the transformation. When a car arrives at BRABUS, whether it's a compact Mercedes or a massive G-Class SUV, it goes through a process that looks more like surgery than customization. The engine is often completely stripped down. Pistons, crankshafts, turbochargers, swapped for stronger, larger, more powerful components. In some of their most extreme builds, BRABUS has taken Mercedes-AMG's already powerful V8 engines and pushed them past 800, even 900 horsepower. Some of their limited hypercar projects have exceeded a staggering 1,000 horsepower, numbers that put them in direct competition with Bugatti and Koenigsegg, not other tuning companies. The suspension gets reworked for the added power. Brakes are upgraded to handle speeds the factory car was never designed to reach. The body is often reshaped with wider fenders, aggressive aerodynamic panels, and in some cases, entirely new carbon fiber body sections. Then there's the interior, and this is where BRABUS reveals something important about who their customers actually are. The interiors that cost more than some cars. Step inside a fully built BRABUS vehicle and you might forget you're in a car at all. Hand-stitched leather covering nearly every surface. Custom color combinations. Sometimes gold-plated trim. Wood veneers cut and finished by hand. Details so specific that some customers have exact stitching patterns, personal monograms, or one-of-one color schemes built entirely to their request. This is the part of the BRABUS story that most people miss. BRABUS isn't really selling horsepower. Horsepower is the headline, the thing that gets attention online, the number people repeat in comment sections. But the real product BRABUS sells is something rarer: exclusivity. Individuality. The ability for someone with enormous wealth to own a car that no one else in the world has. A regular Mercedes-Benz, no matter how expensive, is still something thousands of other people can also buy. A BRABUS build, especially in their higher tiers, might be one of only a handful ever made, sometimes literally one of one. That single fact explains almost everything about why the company has survived and thrived for nearly 5 decades. But surviving is one thing. Becoming a global phenomenon among the ultra-wealthy is another. And that's exactly what happened next. From German workshop to global obsession. As the 2000s arrived, BRABUS's reputation exploded far beyond Germany. Wealthy buyers in the Middle East, particularly in the Gulf region, became some of BRABUS's biggest customers. Massive SUVs, especially the Mercedes G-Class, became a favorite canvas for BRABUS builds, reworked with enormous power, dramatic wide-body kits, and interiors dripping with customization. Celebrities, athletes, and business moguls around the world began requesting BRABUS builds specifically because owning one signaled something a standard luxury car simply couldn't, that you had access most people never would. And BRABUS leaned into that. They started producing extremely limited editions, sometimes as few as 10, 5, or even a single unit of a specific build. Waiting lists grew. Prices climbed into the hundreds of thousands, and for some ultra-exclusive projects, well past $1 million. This is where the story could have simply stayed, a niche luxury tuner for the ultra-rich. But BRABUS made a decision that pushed them into completely new territory. The company that started building its own cars. At a certain point, modifying Mercedes-Benz vehicles wasn't enough anymore. BRABUS began developing entirely separate products under their own name. Yachts. High-performance bicycles. Even a line of luxury smartphones and fashion accessories, all branded with the BRABUS name. Most notably, they created something that shocked even longtime fans: standalone off-road vehicles built using Mercedes G-Class components but designed, engineered, and marketed almost entirely as BRABUS's own creation, futuristic, boxy, armored-looking machines that barely resembled anything Mercedes-Benz had ever put its name on. This raised a fascinating question that automotive fans still debate today. At what point does a modified car stop being a Mercedes, and start being something else entirely? The complicated relationship with Mercedes-Benz itself. Here's something that might surprise you. For most of its history, BRABUS operated as a completely independent company. Not officially owned by Mercedes-Benz. Not a subsidiary. Not part of Mercedes' official performance lineup the way AMG is. That's a critical difference many people misunderstand. Mercedes-AMG is Mercedes-Benz's own in-house performance division, created by Mercedes, owned by Mercedes, built inside Mercedes factories. When you buy an AMG model, you are buying a product Mercedes-Benz designed and stands fully behind from day one. BRABUS is different. It's an outside company that takes an already finished Mercedes-Benz product, sometimes even an AMG model, and modifies it further, entirely on its own. Mercedes-Benz doesn't design these upgrades. In many cases, Mercedes' official warranty doesn't even cover a car once BRABUS has significantly modified it. So why would Mercedes-Benz tolerate, even indirectly benefit from, an outside company essentially rebuilding their products and selling them for enormous premiums? The answer reveals something surprisingly strategic. Why Mercedes-Benz never shut it down. You might expect Mercedes-Benz to see BRABUS as a threat, or at least a company that could damage their brand by making unauthorized modifications. Instead, the relationship became something closer to a quiet, mutually beneficial partnership. BRABUS pushes the absolute limits of what a Mercedes-Benz vehicle can become, generating headlines, viral videos, and obsessive fan communities, all built around a Mercedes-Benz foundation. Every BRABUS creation is, in a sense, free advertising for the underlying brand. It reinforces the idea that Mercedes-Benz engineering is so strong at its core that an entire separate company can build a business empire just from pushing it further. Over the decades, the relationship grew close enough that BRABUS gained access to specific technical support and cooperation from Mercedes-Benz for particular projects, something almost no other outside tuning company in the world has ever achieved. That level of trust wasn't given. It was earned, one extreme, headline-grabbing build at a time. But even with that cooperation, one truth remains, and it's the biggest reveal in this entire story. The reveal: it's not about the car at all. Here is the truth most people never fully connect, even after admiring BRABUS builds online for years. BRABUS didn't succeed because they made cars faster. Plenty of tuning companies can add horsepower. What BRABUS actually built, over nearly 50 years, is a machine for manufacturing exclusivity itself. They figured out something most industries never fully grasp: the ultra-wealthy don't just want performance. They don't just want luxury. They want something no advertisement, no dealership, and no factory production line can offer: proof that their car is unlike any other car on Earth. Mercedes-Benz builds incredible machines, but by necessity, they build them for a wide audience, sold through thousands of dealerships worldwide. BRABUS takes that same excellent foundation and turns it into something deeply personal, rare, and almost impossible to replicate. That's the real difference between BRABUS and Mercedes-Benz. It was never really about horsepower numbers or top speeds, even though those numbers are what go viral. It's about identity. It's about a customer walking up to a vehicle that started life exactly like 100,000 other cars, and knowing that theirs, and theirs alone, was reborn into something entirely new. A different way to see that badge. So the next time you see a Mercedes-Benz badge on an outrageous, wide-body, thundering machine that doesn't quite look like anything in a normal showroom, pause for a second. That badge might not tell the whole story. Somewhere behind it could be a small German company, born in a modest workshop in 1977, that decided the most respectable, formal car brand on the planet was actually hiding something wilder underneath. A company that took that hidden potential and turned it into an empire built on one simple idea: give people something no factory ever could, a car that is theirs, and only theirs. Mercedes-Benz builds the foundation. BRABUS builds the individuality. And somewhere out there right now, in a private garage, another one-of-one creation is being finished, waiting for someone who wanted more than just a car most people happen to buy. If this deep dive into the hidden world of BRABUS opened your eyes to something you never knew about the cars you see every day, hit like, subscribe for more stories like this one, and check out our next video, because this isn't the only car company hiding a secret most people never notice.